Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to the 61st episode of the SFC interviews. Here with Jamille Matt today, former Stevenage loanee. So, how's things, Jamille?
Yeah, not bad. Obviously, it's a tough time for a lot of people. Physically and mentally, not too bad. So, can't complain too much. Just trying to get on with it and do as best as we can.
And of course, you're still playing at the moment as well. You're playing over at Forest Green at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, currently at Forest Green. Been there since start of season, and enjoying my time at the club.
And of course, you played against Stevenage as well, which we'll touch on now. Actually, you played against Stevenage in the away game for Stevenage, and of course, you play here at the Lamex in I think it's about 2.5, 3 weeks time.
Yeah, so played against yourselves, like I said, Stevenage a few months back. See, we got the win, which was what we wanted at the time. And yeah, it's looking forward to the game in a couple of weeks' time. I know one of our lads has gone on loan there. So yeah, looking forward to the game.
And of course, there's a few of you that have connections at Stevenage. Of course, yourself and Chris Stokes as well.
Yeah, Stokes is obviously our skipper now. Very good player. Played against him in the past and had some good battles. So it's good for us to be on the same side now.
And of course, let's go to the reason we're here, which is in regards to your time at Stevenage, and you were brought in on loan under Teddy Sheringham. So, what was the conversations like there with Sheringham, and of course, how grateful to Stevenage were you at that time to kind of get a bit of a break in your career?
Yeah, so I had obviously missed the previous season with an ACL injury, which I'd missed 12 months with basically. Come back, and at the start of the season I probably wasn't expected. I was at Fleetwood at the time, obviously wasn't probably expected to start the season straight away, but in pre-season I kind of hit the ground running after working quite hard in the off season with my physio at Fleetwood, and probably played quite a few games back to back quite quickly. Mm-hmm. Then we had a change of manager, and there was a time where I probably had to be managed a little bit with games, so I was kind of in and out, and I really wanted to go out and play games. I've always in my career wanted to not been one to kind of, if I'm not involved, just kind of stay not involved. I've always wanted to play a game. So so to Stephen Schumacher at the time, who obviously had been at Fleetwood the previous year, mm-hmm. And Shuey obviously spoke to me about the opportunity coming down. Obviously said he spoke to the manager Teddy Sheringham, who was really interested. So I jumped at the chance to sign and obviously try and get some game time to kind of, after being that for such a long time, kind of make sure I'm back into fitness and try and obviously help the club as well in my time there.
And of course, for a striker like yourself as well, to be actually learning off of somebody that's been there and done it all, internationally and at club level as well, I'm sure that was a fantastic learning curve for you as well.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was one of the big reasons why I wanted to sign for the club. And Teddy was the gaffer was fantastic with me, really, in terms of speaking to me, and you could see like little things like his work ethic. He was always on training ground every day, and always on the training ground after. I mean, there's times lads would obviously stay and do their extras. And a lot of people might not saw this. He would spend a lot of time with young lads and anyone, to be honest, who wanted to put in the extra bit of work. Quite late after training finished, 2, 3, 4 hours after training finished, he would still be out on training ground with the younger lads, whether it be playing two touch or if you asked him to do a finishing drill, he'd buzz off it because that's what was his bread and butter, wasn't it? So he couldn't do enough for them for you. So yeah, it was an enjoyable time in terms of working with someone of his pedigree and getting some of his knowledge passed on.
And there's a message there from Tim. Tim says, would you ever come back and play for Stevenage again? Is that anything that you'd consider, or is that sort of ship sailed now?
Listen, you never know where your career goes. So like I said, when I came, it was obviously only on loan for a couple of months, and obviously that kind of system's changed now. So I'm not going to say no, because you never know what path your career goes towards. So I'd never rule anything out. But obviously at the minute I'm a Forest Green player and a happy Forest Green player.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course you're doing well at the moment at Forest Green as well. Just 2 points, I think, if I'm correct, off the top, with a couple of games in hand as well. So of course, I'm sure, no doubt, over at Forest Green, you're aiming for promotion to League One.
Yeah, listen, we're looking forward to just the next game and not looking too far ahead of ourselves. And it's that old cliche, but we can only go take each game as it comes, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, and so we'll touch on your time back at Stevenage again. You scored one goal in your loan spell, and that was in the 2-1 victory away at AFC Wimbledon, wasn't it? And it was the equalising goal that day before. I don't know if you remember much about Jerome's free kick as well, the free kick that Jerome scored to win it that day.
I do remember it. Yeah, it's well, say I remember it. Or if it was it just in our half, or was it just over the halfway line? I think it was where he took it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so lot further up than my goal was. So and listen, it was the winner. So yeah, we were happy with that. And yeah, one like I said, a fond memory. Listen, I wish I'd scored a few more in my time at the club. Probably not. Like I said, my form was at the time a bit up and down after the year out with injury. But yeah, it's yeah, so like that's that goal, my only goal for the club. But yeah, it's one I remember well.
And of course, Sheringham even come out and said it himself that you coming in on loan there was a real big boost for the club because of your sort of work ethic and your hold-up play as well. So, of course, you said you want to score more goals, and for a striker, that's understandable. But of course, to be able to create and kind of assist your teammates is, something else that, of course, is a big benefit to the club as well.
Yeah, I've always said that. Listen, I think it's a given for any footballer to first and foremost got to work hard and give your all out there on the pitch. And that's something I'll always do. And a part of my game is always obviously bringing other people into play and trying to be a focal point for teams. And that's always been a part of my game and will continue to be a part of my game moving forward.
And we've got a question here from Matt as well. I have a question straight off. What's it like for a player on loan to sign for a club and then get used to the club, the town, the stadium and things like that? Obviously, you didn't do it with Stevenage or even with Plymouth, did you? I don't know if that's something that you've done much of in your career, actually been on loan somewhere and then signed permanently with them.
Yeah, so I've only had the two kind of clubs where I've been on loan. Like I said, it is back when you were allowed to go on loan for the kind of 1 to 3 months kind of time periods. And it's quite. I think it's something that people don't always look at. It can be quite difficult because you've got to sometimes go in and hit the ground running, and if you don't, it's you've got to go in and kind of perform. I suppose if you don't perform straight away, then you might not always get that chance to show what you've got. So yeah, it can be quite difficult, but at the same time, I think you've got to look at an opportunity to go in somewhere and impress. And like I said, if you do well, you'll either sign for that club permanently or go back to your parent club in a better position.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, just touching on your loan with Stevenage there, and then obviously moving on to another loan spell with Plymouth. Was there an option to extend that with Stevenage, or were you always going to go back at the end of those 2 months? And unless something happened where you kind of just found form at that time.
To be honest, a lot of people might know this. By the time my partner was pregnant, so initially when I come down loan, it's obviously we were living up near Fleetwood, so it was quite a distance away, and that was I would have been happy to extend in terms of extend the loan at the time, but with her being on her own, it would have been quite difficult to be able to be that far away and not being able to get home all the time. Mm-hmm. So that played a part, to be honest. And I think I went at the time I went back to Fleetwood for a couple of months. Probably didn't play as much as I wanted to, but it was only when she was working at the time, so she went on maternity leave. It was that was when I obviously then went down to Plymouth on loan for a couple of months. Obviously, people say obviously distance-wise maybe a little bit further, but yeah, she was able to go on maternity leave, so she was then with family, which allowed me to kind of try and concentrate on football a little bit. But yeah, it's like I said, it's my other 2 loans in football. But yeah, that kind of, I think my time obviously done all right when I was at Plymouth, but I think the time obviously playing at Stevenage gave me the chance to help build my fitness back up after being out for the year, and probably towards the end of the season I was a little bit stronger fitness wise and able to show what I could do on a more consistent basis.
Okay, and of course you made your debut for Stevenage, coming on in such a local derby against Luton as well. So what was that like to come in and straight away get into such a massive game for the town?
Yeah, it was it was a bit of an experience, because I remember before the game it was built up quite a bit by the lads, not just the lads, just everyone around the club and stuff. Like, it was like obviously a big rivalry and everything. And I can remember watching the game, and I think there was a sending off in the game, and bit of commotion towards the end, so you could tell there was like a big rivalry. And just coming on for myself, it was no pressure really, just coming on, try and make a difference. And obviously you hope to kind of get on that game and try and make the difference in terms of scoring the winner, because I think if you do in derbies, you kind of get fondly remembered in a way. But I can remember there was a bit of something happened, and there was a bit of sending off towards the end of the game, and it ended maybe not in the best of taste. But listen, that's what local derbies are. They're always tasty, aren't they?
And of course, do you enjoy that as a player? Do you enjoy the sort of derby atmosphere, being involved in that?
Oh, definitely. I think you can't not, when you get reminded every couple of the days before the game, that the fans, how important it is to the fans. So if you're not going out there wanting to impose yourself and make sure you come out with bragging rights, then listen, that's maybe football's not for you.
Absolutely, I think that's even as fans, it's a massive day. It's the day that all fans look out for. The derby days. For Stevenage, it was always Woking, Barnet, Luton, teams like that, the likes like that. But so what have we got here? So so you played alongside Ronny Henry. Right? Ronny was actually the captain at that time. And what was Ronny like to kind of be a part of? Just sort of a captain and a leader, really. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! I can't speak highly enough of him. He was. He came to the club, and that was one of the biggest things when I noticed when I came in. Shuey already, like I said, Stephen Schumacher, I spoke about again. He told me how good the lads were, and it's only when I came in I kind of realised exactly what he meant. Because from my first day in, it was like everyone. It wasn't just normally you might have 3 or 4 lads. Oh, how are you doing? Whatever. Everyone made me feel so welcome. Coming up and saying hello and asking me a little bit about myself and just little questions, and it helped me settle in straight. And Ronnie's was a massive part of that. He was a life solo changer in terms of always cracking jokes and always making the boys feel welcome. If anything that needs to be done or in and around the club and around change room, he was the one that sorted it all out, and you could tell why he was captain straight away. And same with in terms of his standards on the training pitch. He would set the standards on the training pitch, and then again obviously in games. So yeah, Ronnie was absolutely brilliant captain.
And of course, there was a fair amount of good players in there. You touched on Shuey with Ronnie there. It was a good squad. Of course, there was Chris Whelpdale, Chris Day as well. Some real good players in that squad. So you played actually against Boro this season for Forest Green, and you played against Stevenage a couple of times actually since you've left. And what have you made of the club? How it's all gone for Stevenage since the period that you were there, and obviously, sort of where Stevenage are in the table now, and how Alex Ravel's doing.
Yeah, obviously the manager there, I've played against him in the past, and probably a striker like myself, and someone I've kind of looked at and respected as a player. I thought he was a really good player. As a manager, I think he's done well. I think in terms of the club, I don't think it's probably my place to comment in a way, but it's one of the clubs I always look out for the results. Always look out for previous clubs, so it's a club I look out for. And yeah, just hope they're continue to do well and picked up quite a few decent results recently, and hope they continue to do well. Obviously, except against Forest Green, of course.
In March, yeah, absolutely. And we've got the question here from Matt again now. How important is it for a player's lifestyle and diets these days as well, especially players in the Football League and above?
Oh, definitely. I think, listen, it's professional. You've got to look after yourself. So I think the little 1%ers that you can get in terms of diet, sleep, rest, looking after yourself, recovery, they all play a part, especially this season. It's we all know there's a lot of games coming in a short space of time. So to get the extra edge, I think if you can look after yourself in terms of recovery, then gives you the extra edge on the pitch. All
right. So we're just going to touch on one or two more, really, not loads. What were your dealings with Phil Wallace, the chairman? Did you have many dealings with him, or not really?
Nothing. To be honest, nothing. To be honest, I think he was on maybe not as hands-on. The chairman, he kind of, I think, left the manager and the staff to kind of take care of things, and I respected that. And it's nothing. I don't think the players always need to have a chat with the chairman, because the managers are who you deal with day to day, and I think that's the way it should be, really.
Okay, and then so we've touched on sort of Alex Ravel and the club a little bit there. What was it like, obviously, coming up against Stevenage? How difficult did sort of Stevenage make it for your Forest Green side in that fixture of, back, was it last year now?
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy game. It was obviously, I think we won the game 1-0. So both teams were obviously in it for towards the end, for the whole 90 minutes. We managed to get ahead, I think, just in the first half, was it? And managed to get the result. So it wasn't an easy game for us. But listen, like I said, we were happy to come out with the 3 points, and that was the main thing for us on that day.
All right. So let's have a look what we got here. So what were your sort of fondest memories, I suppose, of your time at Stevenage? I know it was only sort of a 2-month spell, but what were your sort of fondest memories? Even in training, or just around Stevenage as a town, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, at the time, I think there was quite a few lads on loan, so it was quite a good little group of us. There was stopping in the hotel, so you got Callum McFadzean, obviously, who's at Sunderland now. You've got Michael Tong at the time. I'm trying to remember a few boys that we had. There's a few. Armand Angelo. Obviously, I'm so really close with Armand. Really good friend of mine. So a few of the boys that were in the hotel together, and obviously just being in the hotel, we'd sometimes go around into the onto the retail park for a bit of food most evenings, and just having a good group of boys. Like I said, there's no one who I thought was bad egg as it is, or someone that you can get on with. So just having a good connection with all the squads and all the lads. Tom Pett, I thought was another lad that I got on quite well with at the time, on and off the pitch. I quite like. I think we.
And what do you make of, just going back to Petty there? What do you make of Petty coming back to Stevenage now?
Oh, listen, I can't speak high enough of him. He was a great player. Like I said, he was one of the lads that first welcomed me in. I think we played a couple of games up top. Well, at the start of my loan with him just off myself, and then we had a few injuries. In fact, I think which during my time, it's one of the worst cases of injuries I've seen. To be honest, in my time at the club, there was quite a few injuries to kind of key players. I think in my first start for the club, I think Shuey got quite a bad injury and was out for the season. I think Welps had one. You had Dean Parrott had quite a bad injury. So there was quite a few injuries to key players that I think didn't help us at the time. But yeah, like I said, I thought myself and Tom, Petty played up top first couple of games, and we had a good little understanding. And then because of the injuries, people were kind of getting moved around into different positions, and it kind of upset the kind of cohesion of the team, which sometimes fans don't see that side of it. And but yeah, like I said, it's players there like that. Those are my good memories in terms of some good lads who I still keep in touch with now.
And we've got Ant in as well, Anton, who's a Plymouth Argyle fan, and he's saying, in regards to your time with them, how did it feel to get through the playoff semi-final with a last-minute Peter Hartley goal, and how did it feel sort of going onto the pitch at Wembley as well?
Oh, it's listen, I've said it a few times. In terms of the playoffs, it's the best way to kind of go up if you can win the playoffs, and it's the worst way to kind of lose. The Hearts' goal, the semi-final was unbelievable. I think if you watch it back, it's kind of just absolute chaos when the goal goes in. There's lads running everywhere. There's fans on the pitch. It's absolute chaos, and it was a great feeling. Obviously, walking out onto Wembley, it's managed to do it a couple of times. It's a feeling that's indescribable. I think it's one of those feelings that you do look forward to as a kid growing up playing football, where you kind of dream about, I suppose. And it's funny because I feel like the 90 minutes sometimes in my head it felt like it went really quickly. but yeah, it's some of those memories. I think in years in the future, when I look back, they'll memories I'll cherish, and things that I've obviously looked forward to as a kid that I've managed to achieve.
And of course, another one of those that you'll add to that is the FA Cup as well, when being one of the goal scorers in that Newport victory over Leicester.
Oh yeah, listen, that's another one. Like I said, it's things you dream about, isn't it? Either playing the FA Cup first of all, to score in the FA Cup, and then obviously scoring against a Premier League team, not making it into Premier League myself, but scoring against a Premier League team and beating a Premier League team. So yeah, these are all memories that are fantastic, and having my little lad there, walked out with me for that game. Yeah, fantastic memories.
Okay, let's see what we've got on here. If there's what else there is to cover. We've touched on that. So yeah, we've kind of covered a lot of it. But yeah, so how important is it for clubs to sort of look into their academies as well, and look at bringing through their own youngsters into the system?
Yeah, I think it's always I think I always think about it as the connection with the fans. I think that's a massive part of the connection with the fans, because not all the time, but a lot of the times the young lads that come through the academies will have a link through the community into the club from a younger age, so they've got that connection already instilled in them. And just from that, they've got that instant connection with the fans, and the fans want to see them do well. So that's obviously a massive thing that I think clubs obviously do need to do. Some clubs use it obviously as a way to kind of get a bit of money in terms of they'll develop players, and when they develop them to a standard where they think they're good enough to move on, they won't stand in their way, and they'll wave them on in terms of wishing them all the best, and knowing that they've done well for the club, and then obviously help the club in terms of finances. So
it's a bit like just that Stevenage did that with George Boyd, for example, and the likes of Ben Wilmot as well. Yeah,
like I said, they'll always have that look back and have that fond connection and fond memories looking at the club in terms of where they started and where they've developed as players. So yeah, it's I think it's important for clubs to do that, to have their own players, develop their own players, and have their own identity with that.
And have you always been involved in football from a young age? Have you always been, has football been your passion from sort of childhood?
I grew up, so first 10 years till I was 10, grew up in Jamaica. So Jamaica, as you know, is probably more big on athletics.
Yeah.
So originally I started out in football when I was young enough old enough to kick a ball. I was kicking the ball around. My dad was a massive kind of Jamaica at the time. I hadn't made it to the World Cup, whatever. My dad was a massive Brazil fan, so he got me in like a Brazil kit at a young age.
Okay.
When they won the '94 World Cup. So that's one of my first memories. But then coming up in school, I actually started out in athletics. So I used to go athletics club every weekend. And it was probably when I came to England, I kind of more started taking football a little bit more serious. And I always knew I was a decent player, just probably never wasn't picked up by a club. But I enjoyed it because I was just playing Sunday league all the time with my friends. So that's something I really enjoyed. And then obviously later on, I turned professional, which I probably didn't think I would when I got to 16, 17, but thankfully I did, and I have been for the last 10, 11 years. So yeah, it's football's always been there or thereabouts in my life, definitely.
And sort of who were those inspirations in the game that you'd look up to as well?
For me, I think Thierry Henry's always been my kind of, being an Arsenal fan and everything. He's always been probably the main one in terms of I idolize. Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo. One of the ones I haven't got an older brother, so I'd always kind of not follow him, but he would be interested in the player, and I'd be asking him questions about his player. And Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo was one of the ones that, and we used to watch quite a lot of Italian football. So in the kind of late '90s, so you kind of people like Christian Vieri, Gabriel Batistuta, these kind of players, Del Piero, Roberto Baggio. These are the kind of players I kind of probably grew up watching and maybe influenced people. Must definitely a different type of striker to myself, but probably influenced me in becoming a striker.
Okay, it doesn't look like we've got too many other questions. I think Matt put another question in here saying, what would you choose for next season? promotion by winning the league and a record points total, or getting to the FA Cup final? Well, that's a bit of a different question.
I think promotion every time. Winning the league, I think FA Cup's obviously something that's brilliant and something that you dream about, like I said. But you offer me a chance, a guaranteed chance of promotion, and we're taking that all day long.
It's a bit different when you're not obviously sort of League Two, League One, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think it's just winning leagues, and so you've got a guaranteed type chance to win the league, then you'll take that all day long.
All right, and we're going to leave it there. Actually, I think we'll wrap it up there. So thank you for taking a bit of time out to answer some questions there, Jamille, and best of luck for the rest of the season with Forest Green. Apart from obviously March the 2nd.
Of course, yeah. Same to yourself. Best of luck apart from that game, and thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Bye.